I don't hear you, Max.
Because I just got to hit the unmute button. I did a Justin.
Oh.
What's up, y'all? We had
What's
we
up,
had
brother?
what's up? We sorry guys. We are it's a lot going on. Like Keisha said, we on CP time.
Yeah.
Hey, Junts. Hey,
First time, technical difficulties.
so Vince, I don't know if you could it like he's staring real hard. You got your
Yeah,
Vince clearly can't hear me.
he's focused.
Vince can't hear me, but it's a lot of technology going in. But man, listen, welcome. Vince, you there? Can you hear me now? Let's see here. Do I have his audio in?
Yeah, I can hear y'all now.
Oh,
Y'all
there
hear
you
me?
go. See, listen, I know we're all real estate tech marketing guys, some of the smartest guys I know, but I'm telling you right now, setting this up to do this virtually, obviously because of COVID, is crazy. But I appreciate all of you guys here, no matter where you're from right now, where you're watching. You know, myself, Max Maxwell, my guy Vince Harris, and Justin Winters. We wanted to start something crazy. You know, it's called REI Launchpad, and we call it that because so much has changed, even like just pre-COVID to now. So much has changed since you know, a lot of these courses came out since I started when I first began and was watching Sean Terry when I first started. A lot of things has changed from the technology, from how we deal with sellers, from the market has changed. So we're glad to be able to put this together. This is going to be a weekly show every Tuesday, 7 p.m. And I'm just glad to have you guys here. And my guy right there, Oscar, is watching from Mexico. Shout out to everybody in Mexico watching. I appreciate you guys. But this is like a free-for-all. So I don't want to have like, everybody always sees my YouTube videos like they're all polished. They're all this and that. I just want to have fun with my two guys who are always dope, using some new technology and just hanging out and talking about real estate in general. And Vince is like the structured guy. Like he can run a podcast. You know, both these guys are structured. I'm not that structured, if you didn't know that. So I'm glad you guys can join me. And I have no idea what we're talking about today other than everything. So
About it all.
talk about it all. So Vince, what are you thinking?
Well, right now I'm trying to do this as I give instructions to my son without looking obvious. That's what this is right here. So I wasn't actually deep in thought at all. It might have seemed like it. No, man, listen, I think what you said is a great jumping off point, man. You make a good point. It's like, you know, you're a vet in the game, but in the grand scheme of things, what's it been 3.5 years, something like that? Has it?
I'm not gonna say. It's been
Right.
since August. September 6th, 2016.
Yeah. So, but still, you know, not quite 5 years, right?
No,
And
not
you
quite
think
5 years.
about how much has changed, you know, to your point, it's kind of a brave new world out here. You dig? And I think that what we do today, and probably in the course of these, and like you said, this is very free for all. Like we don't have a plan. I certainly don't have a plan. But is maybe talk to folks about, you know, how the REI world looks different now. You know, what technologies are out there now that didn't exist, ways you can use technology now versus ways that you can't use technology anymore, things
Yeah.
like that. I think that's a great way for folks to think about it. Because honestly, man, I suspect that a lot of new people are pretty intimidated by
100%.
what they see right now.
Now, before we get started and before we start talking, I want to shout out to everybody that's watching on the YouTube channel. I love you guys. Been rocking with me for almost 4 or 5 years now. And also everybody over on Max Maxwell TV app. Now we're live on your iPhone, your Android, your Apple TV, your Roku device built into your TV. We're live on everything right now. So this is pretty dope. And for everybody over there watching on Facebook as well, I appreciate you guys. It's just so much. It's just so fun doing this. But before we get started, let me do an intro of myself, and then I'm gonna let Vince talk about himself and Justin, because a lot of people are tuning in for the first time, and I wanna get acquainted. Some people don't know me. You know, we set out some marketing for this show. Some people don't know any of us, so it's good that we introduce myself. My name is Max Maxwell. I started out in real estate a little over 4 years ago. I was living with my mom at the ripe age of 30, almost 31. And I had to move back home with my mother because I lost everything. You know, I'm not ashamed to say it. it was I lost everything. I was paying my rent with my credit card. I quit my job to start a new company, and it went bottoms up. It went belly up, and I found myself at the late age of 30 moving back in home with my mother, but I knew I had to do something. So a lot of people are in that position where they're stuck and their back is against the wall, and that's where I was. And from that point, I just found wholesaling. I became addicted to it. It was every waking moment that I had. I was listening to podcasts. I was watching videos. It wasn't as much videos as you see now. It wasn't as much free resources. So I had to go out there and dig into everything to try to find it. And, here I am 4 years later. I got a 8,000 square foot office. We do so many deals. I have so many YouTubes. I finally put out a course this year. Never really wanted to, but more than anything, I've affected so many people, not that like directly teaching them, but just for them to look at me and be like, okay, this is possible. Here's a brother who was moved back home, was broke at 30. Now he's able to go out and do whatever I want to do. And that's the key to this. And that's what I want to kind of push to everybody. And I met these guys a few years ago, and it was probably one of the best. Like when you get older, you don't really meet much new friends. So I say this was one of my cool late acquisitions to hang out with these two guys. And Vince, I'm gonna pass the ball to you, man, so you can tell everybody who you are and where you're from.
Let's see here. So, I spent, a bunch of years, the early part of my career working in financial services, worked for big investment banks, Morgan Stanley and Bank of America, places like that. And then went and got another degree and then worked for another big company and moved a bunch of other people's money around, right? Is really what it comes down to. And so worked on really big deals for most of my career, usually in some sort of a sales capacity, but selling financial products. You know what I mean? And then got into real estate because I knew I didn't want to do that for very long. And I was doing that on the side. And I would reach out to my buddy who I had gone to undergrad with, who happens to be freakishly smart. And I would say, man, I need some help. I'm doing this real estate thing a little bit more seriously. Can you help me with this? Can you build a little applet for that? Can you create an integration for this? And I didn't realize the level of effort I was asking him to expend for free, but thankfully he's a good friend and he did it. His name is Justin Winters. He's there to my right, I guess on my left, if you guys are watching. And anyway, man, we just started building products for real estate investors because we felt like there just really wasn't that much really good software product out there. And so REI Rail, we kind of put together with Max, formalized what it should look like and whatnot. And this has kind of been the holy trinity ever since for the last 3 years or so. But, I still invest. I still wholesale. I still fix and flip. Working on a development deal right now for the first time. And just really passionate about teaching both the lessons of real estate investing, but also just entrepreneurship in general. Building wealth is something I'm also really passionate about. So forums like this are great, man, because it's a free for all. We can talk about all the above.
But last but not least, the big idea guy.
Big idea, yeah. Justin Winters, man, known Vince too long, so I'm not gonna date us. But yeah, I mean, I've been in real estate, for a long time. Started loving real estate as a kid. Went to University of Virginia with Vince, and that's where we first met. And studied computer sciences and all that, and went into started working as a consultant in my early years, building like large systems, enterprise systems. So that was my background, building big corporate systems. And Vince kind of gave the story. He called me one day and was like, "Hey man, I'm getting into real estate." Now I had owned a real estate firm before. I had actually owned we were a lender, we were a hard money lender, and we were also a correspondent lender. We were doing mortgages. And then that all kind of got swept up into the 2008, 2009 fiasco. So that was tough, but it was a learning lesson. And I said, when I ever get back on my 2 feet and get back at it, man, I'm going to build something beautiful for the real estate industry. And so Vince called, I think it was 2012 or thereabouts.
13, somewhere in there.
Yeah, in there. And we started working on some things together, which kind of rolled into various products and eventually into bigger and bigger products, and met Max and just instantly felt like family. Um, and we just started building this thing together. And so yeah, it's been an amazing ride so far.
And it's been cool, man, and we're gonna get to the meat and potatoes here soon. But it's cool when you could come together with some like minded individuals who see you guys, and you all guys have the same vision, and that's what is cool about doing this. But let's get to the brass and tacks. I mean, let's talk about the big old elephant in the room right now, COVID, and how this pandemic has kind of changed, right? And also has showed you who is out here can really handle and weather a storm. I mean, what is some of y'all biggest takeaways from COVID over the last like 12 months for real estate and your business and everything like that?
You want to start, Joss?
You want to start? Yeah, I'll start. I mean, the 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 hard thing for me from a real estate perspective, I think the hardest thing right now is the impact that it had to inventory and what we're seeing right now in terms of home prices, retail home prices. I think if you were a wholesaler and you had inventory already, it would have served you really well not to sell them and keep them and flip them, and sell them retail, because it's really really hard. And we talk a lot about, wholesalers and real estate agents actually getting to a point where they can build and work together because they have complementary skill sets. And where wholesalers really focus on the marketing and the acquisition of off market properties, and real estate agents finding retail buyers, and we see like there's a good marriage that could happen there. But man, real estate agents are hurting right now. They cannot find homes for their buyers. It is really tough. My wife's a real estate agent, and it is unreal out there right now, especially for first time home buyers. So that's the biggest impact I've seen. Is I'm nervous about this bubble that it's created. Prices are kind of getting back to that 2006 2007 price
Oh,
range,
oh wow, you see you
and
see you seeing that big of a price jump up there. See, I'm in the South. We don't have those big jumps like
yeah,
you guys have.
we've seen homes in our area go $100,000 over list price because of the frenzy around trying to get a property under contract.
But how is it appraising for that? Just because the frenzy,
They're
how is it?
not appraising. They're not appraising, and that's the thing,
People are bringing
because
cash
a
to
lot
make
of
the
these
difference?
people are bringing a ton of cash, and so somehow everyone is more wealthy, and it's starting to feel like 2006 2007 again. Everybody was rich, cash rich, paying way over market price, and then the bubble hit. So it'll be different this time because the thing that kind of fell out the bottom last time was those new housing payments, like payment shock happened because we saw arms, we saw people's housing payments dramatically increase, and foreclosures kind of starting increasing. Now we're seeing not foreclosures, but what looks like potentially could be, based on everyone that has their payments and deferment right now. But the other thing is inflation. What the cost of money is right now, and the fact that interest rates could rise. But if people are getting 30 years, it may be a bit of a lag compared to what we saw in 2006, 2007, 2008. But it's starting to feel like that, man. I got to tell you.
I mean, I think, but when I talk about, and it's good we're having this conversation because a lot of people were never in real estate that are watching this now. You got people who are wholesaling, who are actively wholesaling. You have people who have been kind of like doing this, kind of like just started doing this, and you got people going out finding their first rental property. I think that the overall market right now is crazy and as like the prices, but I think the fundamental difference between 2006, 7, and 8 is that there was some market manipulation going on intentionally. I think you have what now you call just a simple supply and demand issue, and the Fed interest rates are very low, and people are not wanting to move out of their house as much because there's a pandemic going on.
Well,
Go
so
ahead.
I would say there's a group of people who disagree, who would disagree or agree with the market manipulation, but the difference is that the market manipulation that is happening now is with the Fed. That they're
Okay,
intentionally keeping, the cost of money really, really low,
but that's
which
but
is
is that gonna is that a that's not the same type of manipulation from 2007 and 8.
it's different. I mean, the manipulation back then was, Wall Street basically, selling these mortgages, mortgage-backed securities, and basically giving loans that, when I was in the industry at that time, they were giving loans to people with no documentation.
They're not doing
They
that
wouldn't.
now.
They're not doing that now. So that was the manipulation. The manipulation was there was all this risk in the mortgages that really wasn't accounted for, right? And so that was the manipulation in a lot of ways. The manipulation now is that the cost of money really isn't being accounted for. That's what some people would argue. That right now the cost of money is artificially low, right? And so people are feeling, and then on top of that, we're flooding the market with money through stimulus packages. So we've got a ton of money out in the street. So if because one of the things you can kind of look at is what just happened recently with GameStop. People are richer than they have been recently, even during a pandemic. That all these people were able to hold on to that GameStop stock, right? To try to fight back against, the big guys, the hedge funds. So I agree with you. It is not exactly like 2006, 2007. It's really hard to predict, when the proverbial shoe is going to hit the floor. But it's starting to feel like things aren't in balance.
Well, I
What
mean,
do you think, Vince?
yeah, Vince, what do you think? And I don't want to get too nerdy because I want to talk about how this affects and how this can help or hurt
Yeah.
wholesalers or people going out to buy
Right.
their first rental property. How does this? Go ahead and give me your opinion, but wrap it around as to what you think it all makes.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I mostly want to make this valuable for folks who are listening, so I don't want to go too far in the weeds. If people are interested to hear this conversation, listen, fire away, ask the questions. Justin and I certainly have these conversations all the time. But I think, one sort of final point about the macro bit, and then let's jump down to ground level and talk about how it affects people who are in the audience. I think it's a little bit different, right? So I do worry about the other shoe dropping, but this is fundamentally different. You got to think about just a couple of quick stats. Like after the 2008 crash, when all that stuff happened, you got to remember that nearly 20% of all home purchases that happened after that were for cash. People are in a much better equity position than they ever were during the crash. People's debt utilization rates are down. People's credit profiles are actually better. And you have what I think is the most compelling thing that makes this, not so scary is just demographically, we're in a different place in this country, right? So you got a lot of folks who are millennials who are aging into that place where it's time to buy a house. And so, yes, there are some people who are in some scary positions. Yes, there are some folks who are going to experience foreclosure. All that stuff is true. But for better or worse, there's a whole lot of people coming behind them who are looking to buy houses, who frankly have a lot of wealth, like Justin was saying. They're two-income households and they can afford to buy. And I don't feel as worried as I did. And listen, I'm like a glass half empty kind of guy when it comes to the economy. But the dread that I felt in March or April of last year, I just don't feel right now because I've been on top of this data for a year now. And, there's just, we still have also never replaced the inventory, right? Our inventories are at historic lows. So you got 75 million millennials. There's more millennials than there are baby boomers. You got 75 millennials like a pig going through a python, and whatever they need in the market is going to pop. That's why Amazon pops, because they buy in a certain way. Same way that baby boomers, when it was time for them to have babies, Gerber becomes a thing. When it was time for them to buy houses, housing market took off. The same thing is happening with millennials, but it's more of them than there are of boomers. My point is just, I am less concerned because I feel like fundamentally there's not the same kind of manipulation that you're talking about, Max. There's a different kind of manipulation. The Fed has, got a whole bunch of artificially cheap money out there, and we can talk about that. But I just don't have the same concern that I did about like the wheels falling off. I worry about inflation. I worry about student debt. That's a whole different conversation. I think student debt could be the
Right.
thing that torpedoes us. Yeah, that's a whole different conversation. But to your question about how it impacts people who are listening to this, I think that it does a couple of things. You have people like these millennials that I'm talking about, these folks who have been able to preserve wealth, who are throwing money in the stock market because frankly, they don't have anywhere better to put their money. Rates are too low to have it make sense to put it into a checking, a savings account, or even a CD. If you look at the inflation, you actually are losing money by putting your money in a bank product. So they have nothing better to do than to throw it into the stock market. Most of the stocks that have been taken, that gone crazy in the last 6 months, are way overvalued. They just are. We can have that conversation too. What that means for you guys watching is that you're not just competing against professional investors anymore. You're competing against anybody who has some bread on the sideline that needs to get a decent return. Now, that's a double-edged sword.
Yes, it is.
On the one hand, you're competing with anybody who's looking for assets. By the same token, though, you guys, and this goes to how the game has changed in the last 4 or 5 years, Max, you guys should be thinking about this notion of a buyer's list completely differently, right? This whole idea of, oh, I got to find a professional cash buyer contractor.
Right now is the worst. That's the worst buyer you have right now on your list. Is everybody you've been dealing with for the last 3 or 4 years.
Absolutely. And that's all you guys got taught.
Retail.
Yeah. And
you can sell retail.
And that's a good point. So we have and actively having, a large office with many employees, we're having to look at things in a different way. We're having to say the deals that we would turn away 18, 24 months ago, I don't need to follow up and try to pester this one down an extra $10,000 or $20,000. I'm going to go ahead and take it because I am it's crazy. So any deal that we have that's a wholesale deal is gone in minutes. I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah.
In minutes. So if you are on the disposition side of this business, somebody on your team, if you're on the disposition side of this wholesaling business, you need to stop talking to your everyday flippers. They're biting at the chops right now, and you don't need to be selling at the same rate you were selling before, because in my simple market, you're getting an extra 20 grand on a retail price. So, but who I'm talking to now is you need to be finding doctors, dentists, all these people that money makes no sense sitting in the bank. The stock market's way too volatile for them to really kind of figure out when to jump in and jump out. If they're going to buy a hard asset that they can physically touch, look, or see, or if you got a turnkey product, that is where you need to be selling your actual properties at. I mean, more than ever, we're locking things up sight unseen. And when we're sending out messages, things are selling literally in minutes.
So, where I was going was, and I agree, let's not get too nerdy. There's other platforms for that. But it really was to say the things that people are thinking about and that are affecting the people, because you've got customers on both sides, right? You've got cash buyer, right, or the retail buyer now, and then you've got the person who has motivation, and their motivations have changed because right now they're being protected by regulation, but also right now is the absolute best time to sell their home because homes are selling close to 2006, 2007 prices. So the motivation is not necessarily I need to get out because I'm in fear of losing my property. But now it could be, hey, now is the time for me to actually get in some equity, get some money in my bank account, right? I think about people who are nearing retirement and have been deciding or planning to. We see a lot of folks moving to Florida right now. If you are 2 years away from retirement, you need to sell your house now, right?
It's not going to get any better.
It's not going to get any better.
Time cash out.
Yeah. And so understanding what are these things that could lead to a potential correction or crash or whatever, doesn't matter. What we know is that there will be a correction. There's going to be something that's going to happen. Will it look like 2008, 2009? Maybe not. Probably not. I hope not, because we're smarter now. But something will happen. And so you can start to shape stories to your customers around, hey, something is going to happen, and you'll never see prices like this again, especially if you want to sell the house that you've been in the last 20 years so you can move to that property that you bought 10 years ago for retirement.
Yeah. I mean, that to me, Max, that's is a little bit, left of your exact question about COVID specifically, but it's all related because COVID has forced people to nest, to have this nesting instinct, right? That's why Home Depot stock went crazy. Lowe's stock went crazy. All the do-it-yourself projects that happened over the course of COVID. And all of that sort of dovetails like this crazy sort of confluence of things that happen. You got people who literally last year is when the millennials overtook the boomers. You got that happen. COVID happened. The nesting instinct happened. You have no good alternatives for their capital. And all of this stuff happened around the same time, right? And
That's an
to
excellent
create this
point.
environment that we're in right now.
Yeah,
So
I mean, that's an
again,
excellent point too, Vince, that you're saying about just no good place to put capital. Because some of these institutional buyers, when it's funny because I was listening to one guy who was saying one of the reasons the hedge funds are so greedy is because they were blaming the Fed because they said since treasuries are so low, interest rates are so low, the hedge funds have to take more risk in order
yeah,
to get the return that they because they're promising 8-9% returns
yeah.
and they can't just
So,
stick it
so
in like a very safe bet anymore. So they got to be more
yeah.
risky.
So here's another great point, exactly to what Justin is saying, is that, again, double-edged sword, right? This used to be like, how they say in the mafia, La Cosa Nostra, this thing of ours, this kind of special thing. House flipping was like this small cottage industry. This ain't a cottage industry anymore,
it's a public traded company is what it is.
right? The big boys are hip. They've been hip for a decade now. Blackstone, you name it, right? So you are competing with guys who have really deep pockets. And to the point that Justin's making and I was making earlier, they have a lower return expectation, right? And they can just outbid you. So you're competing with those guys. It's all the more reason to make nice and make friendly with retail buyers. So it's a great point, right? Because the market has shifted. It's become a more institutional market. You guys still are in control. You are by far and away the most important thing in this business, right? A
By
quick
far.
stat for you. Yeah, if you look at single family rentals, 75% of them, Max, are owned by a landlord that has 4 doors or less.
Or less. Yep. Mom and pop.
Mom and pop. You guys run the show.
So
Don't get it twisted.
So let me capitalize on what you're saying. And right now, our number one performing motivated sellers list is those people. Why?
Yeah.
Because there's 10 million people plus, I believe, who haven't paid rent.
Yeah, that's right.
We are literally every deal we're getting, I'm seeing at least a deal a day from that parameter of tired landlord. So
So
let's get tactical for a second, because I just want to make sure we're making this like digestible and usable for people who are in the audience. Where 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years ago, everybody from stage was teaching sell into distress, right? Find a distressed seller, poke the pain, all that kind of stuff. That stuff still works, absolutely. But if the market has shifted in the way that we're talking about, and you're looking at buying inventory from these smaller landlords who are just kind of done with the business, that's a different conversation, right? And we all know that wholesalers, just be real honest with one another here. Wholesalers don't have a great reputation for really knowing the nuts and bolts of the business. But if you plan to go after the folks that hold this inventory that we're talking about, you need to know your stuff. So I think it's going to become even more imperative going forward that you can talk the talk. You know what I'm saying? Because that's who you're probably going to be buying from. No, I'm just being, keeping it real. I want to give you something tactical. Like, I love it up here. Lord knows, like me and Justin, we spend plenty of time up here. I want to give you something down here that's helpful. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I love that. And I think too, right, because it was a long-winded way of saying the motivations just have changed.
Yeah.
Right. And so the more that you understand the buyer, the more that you understand the market, the better you can pinpoint what the motivation is and how you should be selling.
Yeah.
So let's answer this question here. Do you guys see the wholesale market, the market itself, plus inventory being squeezed out by hedge funds, open door, blah, 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 all these guys?
No. Well, I'll give my answer and then you guys can chime in. No, to me, full stop. No. 16 million single family rentals out there. Blackstone, which has its, what's the name of their imprint? Invitation Homes. Invitation Homes got 80,000 doors. Only 50,000 of them were their own. They had to buy another company to pick up those other 30,000. It's a drop in the bucket. It's a drop in the bucket. I do not see in the short term there's any way that you guys get squeezed out. And this goes to something that I'm sure Justin's going to pick up on. Forever, we have been trying to tell people we need to band together to keep this thing from happening. That
Forever,
your guest just asked the question. So go there, Just.
Yeah, forever.
How do we do that? How do you do that?
So you know what's so crazy, Vince? The whole time, this whole game. Hopefully, everybody here has been kind of looking at this GameStop thing and thinking, just at least interested in it, right? Like what's going on, and you see everyone coming together to take down the hedge funds. So the question is, will the hedge funds squeeze us out? No, you just saw what happened when people come together.
They had to
right?
cry. They had
And
to
so-
cry.
Right. They had to cry. And so when we first started this whole thing back in 2013, that was our whole model. That was our whole design and desire, was to bring all the wholesalers together to go against these larger hedge funds, to go against Open Door and Knock and OfferPad and Black Knight, or really now Zillow. What's the Zillow program? Zillow Offers or Home Offer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because they're going to be in your backyard. But I've always said, and Vince has always said, and Max has always said, they can't beat you to a property.
No
They
way.
don't know your neighborhood the way that you do. And I've said this multiple times. An algorithm can never beat the streets.
And they're not going to
Right.
sit
You
on
were
the
in
phone. They're not going to sit on the phone like I did yesterday with Mr. Myers for
They're
26
not.
minutes.
Exactly. They're not going to sit there and make them feel better. They're not going to spend the time, and know everything about that person, their life, where they grew up. They're not from the neighborhood. It's just not going to happen.
not gonna happen.
So if you know your locality, if you are a local expert, if anything, what's going to happen is these larger companies are going to come in and try to find you.
That's right.
They're going to want you to be an emissary.
So let's talk about like somebody watching this, never wholesaled a deal, never just got in this business, and now we're talking the scary big talk right now that hedge funds, this and that, and they're just like, you know what, forget this, I'm gonna go try to open up an Amazon store. the don't do that, by the way. But how does somebody start today with so much craziness going on to just get one deal? And that's my theme, no pun here, but you need one deal. And if you can get one deal a month or one deal every other month, you completely change your life.
Yeah.
How does somebody
Yeah,
just start? Just start right now.
I'll go to something that a friend of the family said recently. So, for REI Rail, which is the product that we all own together, there's a Facebook group that we call the Launchpad also. And we have a thing on Fridays called Office Hours. And sometimes we have guests. Well, this past Friday, just a couple of days ago, we had Alicia on. And Alicia is a wholesaler out of Philly. I think she does some other parts of the business as well. And then she and her husband have another business. But we brought her on specifically to talk about what she's doing around direct mail. So to your point, your very specific question, Max, she is having outsized success because she has done what you should always do when competition from a big, player comes in, and that is back to basics. Get back to basics.
Right, man.
She has figured out that first principles, quality trumps quantity. She writes amazing notes that are specific to her target demo. She is intentional about the look and feel of the piece. This may seem petty, guys. This ain't petty. This is going to make the difference. It's going to be the little things that separate you. So let me just finish what she does, and then I'll pass to Justin Max. She picks out the right stamp. The neighborhoods that she's calling in, if she puts a Marvin Gaye stamp on it, that means something. You dig? If she puts, a Black History stamp on it, that means something. And she knows that. And so she's just been very intentional about targeting quality lists, writing copy in there that is not overly salesy, right? In fact, she said, I hope she don't get mad at me for giving away this gem. She said, if I'm going to send a piece to somebody that has a dilapidated house that normally would be on somebody's distressed, vacant, whatever list, she says, I never say in the piece, I want to buy your house. I never use the word sale. She says, I came across your property. If you want to talk about it, give me a call. It's subtle. It's little stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, you got to get back to basics. You got to figure out, who am I trying to contact? What is their motivation? To Justin's point, maybe there's real distress, but maybe it's time to go to Florida and I'm afraid to cash out. I've been in this house 20, 30 years. I don't know anything different. I know it's a good time to sell, but I'm just scared. I need somebody to walk me through it. Right. And she's been able to do that. And I just want to, first principles, get good on the phone, get good across the kitchen table to the extent we're able to get back into people's kitchens again at some point. But just first principles, man, I really would focus on folks getting back to basics and understand how to connect human to human.
Yeah. It's funny. And when she said that she sent out that Marvin Gaye stamp, like I just love that. She's in Philly. Marvin Gaye's from DC. I know that. But that's why I asked her, I said, how come you didn't use a Teddy Pendergrass? But
right. Right.
But
TSOP joint.
But right. But Philly loves. I mean, everybody does.
So
loves Marvin.
when
But
go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, but I was just going to dovetail on what Vince was saying as far as like getting back to first principles. I mean, the other thing that kind of stands out, if you're asking that question, like, how do I get my first deal? And you just heard what Vince said, and you're like, well, what are the basics? Then you kind of need some mentorship,
Mm-hmm.
You need to find somebody, or you can DM us and we can pair you with somebody.
You need some coaching
to get you.
because I think
You need some coaching.
Yeah, not and go ahead, Justin. I'll finish on my point.
Yeah, that's. I mean, you know where I'm going. That's where I'm going. Basically, you need coaching. This isn't a pitch for coaching, because we could pair you with people in any of our platforms, just to help you through your first couple deals. But when I was
you could
first
just
getting
take
into
the
real
time.
estate,
Take the time and
Take
watch
the time.
watch some old YouTube videos. Go back to when the old stuff. But
the best video still for me that you ever did was a deal in a day.
yeah, I love that
It's
video.
one of my favorite videos, man, of yours. If anyone's asking that question on this call, go back in Max's channel and search for a deal in a day. It is by far the best video that gives you the game 100% from the beginning to the end. If you watch that, you will know how to get a deal without spending a whole bunch of money, right? Without having to go read a ton of books. And you just do exactly what he did in that video, you will get a deal.
So, Justin, Vince, question to you guys: What's the difference between a mentor and a coach?
I'll give my sense of it, and then Justin, you can chime in. For me, a mentor is going to, set an example. They are going to give you something to aspire to. They're going to speak life into you. They're going to do lots of things to build you up from the inside. Mostly it's that they are going to set an example and, again, give you something to imprint to. A coach, to me, is more practical, tactical. A coach is going to say, listen, meet me at the track, 6 a.m. Wednesdays, we're running 40s, right? That's a coach. You know what I'm saying? Bring me your homework Monday morning. I expect to see it done. And if not, you're going to read an extra book as punishment. That's a coach. It's more practical, tactical. People have different definitions, but that's my general sense of it.
I agree 100%. 'Cause I think what happens in the last few years, people are misusing the word mentor for coach. And most of you guys don't need a mentor, or you can find a mentor locally in your community. So most of you guys are looking for a mentor. You really mean to say you need a coach because you need specific training on a certain thing that you're trying to accomplish. For me, most of my mentors talk to me in a very high level sense. Me getting to sit with them and learn their mannerisms and how they go about their day and what they do and high level conversations. My mentor don't go and say, hey, look, file your taxes this way, do this, turn it this way. Nah, that's a coach. That's the person that's going to take you there. So most of you guys are needing something like that. What do you think, Josh?
I love that you brought that up too, because that brings me also just back to, again, kind of the theme of the show and kind of the launch pad. And we'll be more sort of structured in terms of giving you guys game and future ones, but we're just kind of setting the stage today. But this idea, this is something that also people need to maybe jot down, maybe take a note. The notion of mentors, sponsors, and coaches. These are very different things. Everybody in this, I'll come back to that one. everybody in this audience is not going to leave their job and become a full-time investor. Some of you work inside of big firms and you're going to stay there, and you need to figure out, maybe you work at a big brokerage, or maybe you work at a big asset manager. You want to have a portfolio on the side, but you want to learn the game. You want to stay attached to that organization. Mentors, sponsors, and coaches, these are really fundamental people in your life as you build a professional career. And we can talk about some of that kind of stuff. Like, I don't want this to be just about running comps and how do you pull a list, and anybody can give you that, right? I'm just keep it a bean with you. Like, Justin and I have been really blessed to be in some spaces and places, some rooms that a lot of folks, especially Black folk, don't get to go. I'm just being completely transparent with you. I want us to use this platform to give you some of the stuff that we hear in those rooms. Justin has built big enterprise systems for Fortune 5 companies. He's led teams of 50 developers at a time, right? I've done single deals that were $100 million at a time. I'm not saying it to brag. I just want to say that we are here to be of service to you. And so when I heard Max mention that, it just really sparked something for me, because this idea of mentors, sponsors, and coaches, I want to get into all of that, man, because everybody ain't going to do this full time. And that's cool. I don't want you to feel any pressure like you have to. We can give you some game that can help you inside of an organization, inside of a brokerage, inside of an asset manager. So I just really wanted to double tap on that when you said it. Sorry, Max.
No, that's perfect, man, because it's a big misconception, and a lot of us haven't grown up with the idea of coaches, mentors, and sponsors. So it's good that we're all on the same page when we're talking about the definition of things.
Yeah.
And a sponsor, by the way, if you are in a bigger organization, again, we can have a longer conversation about it later. Justin can talk about this. I'm sure he's had sponsors throughout his career. Like, Justin was one of those dudes, like, on the high po list, right? The high potential list. Like, you know, he was the guy that when he got into the big consulting firm he was with, I don't know if he wants me to say the name, like, Justin was the guy that every manager would be like, he's going somewhere, right? And so the sponsor is somebody who will carry water for you. The sponsor is somebody who will use their capital inside the organization to help you move forward. So if you're in a big brokerage, if you're in a big asset manager or something like that, again, you're not going to try to go and become your own real estate investor kind of on your own. Having a sponsor is really, really important. A mentor, very high level stuff like Max talked about. A coach, meet me at the track Wednesday, we run in sprints. So if I didn't say what a sponsor was, I wanted to make sure I touched on that.
Justin,
you've had sponsors throughout your life, bro. You talk on that.
Absolutely. I don't have anything to add to that. I mean, that was perfect. But yeah, I've had sponsors, and it's, you know, I look back and that's a big reason. Sponsors, man, are amazing in the way that they provide a confidence that you probably couldn't have achieved just on your own. At least that's the way it was for me, you know, because sponsors truly believe in you, but they're not the one who gave you the skill set, you know, that's the coach. And they're not the one that you go to help refine at a larger level where you're trying to direct your life. That's your mentor. But there's someone who believed in you and helped pave a way and create opportunity for you in the organization that you're in. And so, yeah, absolutely. I've had sponsors and they've been a blessing every single time. I actually, I didn't actually use that word, but there was a woman actually who was, you know, where I used to work before we started this thing. She completely was that person for me. And I actually wrote her a letter not too long ago just to tell her how thankful I was for her and what she did for me in my life.
I love it, man. This is I just having this first show was really just setting the precedent of what's actually going to happen. Yeah, we're going to give you tactical stuff on how to do X, Y, Z as we see the market changes. But like Vince said, we get to be in the rooms a lot of people don't get to go in, whether that's paid or by invitation. We get to sit with a lot of high-level folks, and we want to drop that game to anybody who hasn't had the opportunity or is not in a position to go to those rooms on this show. Yeah, we're going to get tactical. We're going to tell you how to buy your first rental house, how to get your first deal, you know, what's the best marketing tactics that's working right now. We're going to give you all of that every single week, every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on all the platforms you could think of. That's where we're going to be. And then we're going to chop this up, put it into a podcast, and you can watch it and listen to it later. But that's our plan, and that's what we're going to do every week. And we're going to come to you consistently, give you guys game, and really just try to help out the community and have like our own family of people here that we can help out and watch and see each other grow, because I think that's what's important. Because one of my goals for this year, because my mentor said it, I felt like I needed to echo it. He said he ain't selling nothing this year. Period.
Wow.
And, because
Wow.
he had a property and he was going to go sell it. And I think he said he was with his family at his house in Bahamas. And he just said, he was like, yeah, he said his last name. And he said, we ain't selling nothing this year. We ain't selling nothing no more. That's what he said. So that's where I want to get this year, is where I don't want to sell anything. I want to keep everything and build this crazy.
Can I say, sorry,
Yeah.
can I say one last thing, Max?
Yeah.
So on this idea of coaches too, the other thing, and I know you don't like plugging, I know you didn't even hardly want to do a course, but part of the thing that I love so much about Max's course is that it's not frozen in time. I never seen anybody do a course like that.
It changes.
I'm not just saying that because it
Because-
changed. I'm not just saying that because it's my man. Like, he understands, because of the rooms that he's in, because of what he's built from nothing, that you got to stay on top of it. And so the Max and Nas course, I love the fact that it's a living, breathing thing. It changes and keeps people up with the times. I just want to say that out loud. You probably would never say it out loud. I just wanted to at least say that.
And it's cool. And we thought about that, because when I first started, some of the stuff that I did when I first started worked fantastic. That was like cheap. It worked. Wouldn't even fly. You might go to prison if you did those things now. And that's just marketing. Like, marketing and the legislation has changed so much, and you find yourself in litigation. So we don't do a lot of stuff. So we change, and as this business changes and as rules come down like it does in Illinois and Oklahoma and Philly, we want to update you and so that you're on top of the game. And as we see market shifts, we're going to tell you, yo, you got 3 months that we probably got to see to go do this before it becomes a trend, or, whatever that situation is. But yeah, I mean, Max and Nas and maxandnas.com, that's where we have our course if you're looking at going through A to Z. But we're really here to give some game, and we want to give some fly game. And I think as we do more shows, you guys are going to really appreciate having these two brothers here with us. And you're going to really say, like, oh, this is what Max was talking about. These guys are really smart. And, I mean, these guys built Driving for Dollar apps before it was even the thing. Like, you guys built it, what, in 16? 7? No,
15.
15,
13.
yeah. You guys
I was
built
earlier than that.
13. You got built a Driving
think
for
it was
Dollars
13.
app in 2013 because you guys see it. And the stuff that we're coming out now and the stuff that they're building, like REI Rail, I mean, it's a game changer. It allows you to kind of have your business in a box and essentially do lots of marketing for one platform. But it's these guys they know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about. You guys not only hang around smart people. So I'm excited for this show. I don't know. Just I'm excited. I know you excited. You went and got new lights.
know.
You're so excited.
I know. I went out.
Set
Max
look
was like, "Yo, we about
crispy.
to do a show.
I'm gonna see. Can I show his full set? Oh, let me see something. Look at this full set.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I spent some time trying to put some things together. I don't even have all my lights on yet because it's not fully done. But I was just like, man, if I'm gonna be next to Max, I gotta step my game
I'm
up.
building
That's
a
what you
brand
do.
new
You-
studio right now. I didn't even know you had brick in your office. Is that real?
I'm not. No.
It may
I was gonna try to act like it was something that it wasn't.
I'm not at liberty to
No.
say.
right.
That looks nice,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, that brick comes in rolls.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, man, spent the past week. You were like, yo, we doing a show. I was like, okay, cool. Went to Lowe's, bought some paint, bought some wallpaper that looked like brick. You know? Got some
Hey, I couldn't
lights.
tell. Hey, I couldn't tell the difference. If you'd asked me the same question, I would have said,
That's
"Yeah,
why
it's brick."
That's why it's in the back. You
Yeah.
know, blurred out a little bit.
It looks good, man. The production and setup is good, and that's part of. As you can see, we put a lot of thought into bringing you guys, something with quality. I think it's important that we guys bring you a quality show. But I'm excited about this. I promise we'll be on time every time after this. I mean, it's gonna be excited. I'm ready to rock and roll.
We gotta figure it out now.
New topics every week. So, any parting words?
We'll do some stuff too. Like we said, we don't want it to be about like where the lists are and all that. We know that you guys want to hear that stuff, so we're not going to not talk about it. You know, we're going to say these are the hot lists. We're going to give you all that really tactical stuff, and kind of give you the game to kind of help you set yourself apart from your competition, right, in your area. So, I'm really excited to be part of this. And, people say that. I hear that. I've heard that before.
And just how you responded to that is like a whole the way he does answers a question.
Hey,
Right.
I don't know. We about the same age, so we from that same area.
That's hilarious.
It's funny. I've heard that my whole life. I need that whole money though. I need that whole bank
How
account.
about that?
But yeah, so we want to give you guys all the tactical stuff. We want to give you guys all the game, so that you can take advantage and basically slay your market. We're going to give you, the data stuff, all the stuff that you're not getting from other places. We want to give it to you. So,
is there anything on the horizon, guys, that you kind of want to just like hint at that's coming, or anything you guys been working on, whether you've seen or anything like that?
So earlier you talked about, what's your hot list? Is vacant, right? We're talking about people who own property, absentee owner, landlord. We're working on a way to kind of get that data out where you have access to that data without really having to pay for it. And we're really excited about that, and put it in an app that will basically help you get your deals. It'll direct you towards getting your deals and also help you to sell your deals fast. So we're excited that should be coming out here in the next couple of weeks. We got it in beta test right now. We've got some people that got their hands on it. So excited. You want to say more about that at all, Vince?
No, you hit it on the head, man. When I start talking about it, I get too excited. I'll say too much, so I'm gonna stop.
Is that like Dame Dash? Are you like Jay and he's Dame?
Jay, listen,
He's
Justin
not
is
as mad as
definitely-
Dame though.
I'm not as mad as Dame,
He can be,
but
though.
he is definitely the nicer of us. I am definitely the more Dame Dash of of the pair. I have Dame Dash tendencies. I'll say that.
And I guess I'm like DJ Khaled over here.
I
so.
can agree with that. Yeah, you call it.
Right, exactly.
It works, man.
Or are we James Harden, Kyrie, and KD? But they're not winning no games, so
But-
no.
and you guys don't want to see me do that step over move. I'll break everything.
Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want you to do that. No,
Yeah, don't do that.
It's cool, man.
absolutely.
Listen, I appreciate you guys being here, whether on YouTube, the Max Maxwell TV app. This is going to get better every single week. This is just like our introductory rollout to you guys. I appreciate you, Vince, Justin. Thank you guys for coming. It's going to be fresh, and I can't wait. So we see you guys next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Tell your friend, tell your mom, get some popcorn, and probably in a couple months, probably in a month or so, I'll be in my brand new studio, and we'll work it out.
Nice.
Can't wait to see that. Yeah.
So appreciate you guys, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah. Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Tell a friend to tell a friend. Appreciate y'all, man.